Sojourner Truth, a former slave and 19th century American abolitionist, an activist for African American civil rights and women's rights, offers us these words. If we laugh and sing a little as we fight the good fight of freedom, it makes it all go easier. I will not allow my life's light to be determined by the darkness around me. I believe her inspiring words speak to the reality that life has both blessings and woes, something the gospel story gives voice to today. For a few minutes, we will talk about creating space to listen to these realities and the importance of trusting the God within as we respond to what these blessings and woes are saying. Creating space is essential to listening to the Spirit's indwelling presence. Although there are a number of ways to do this, I'd like to offer two. One is to breathe and intentionally quiet our mind and heart. Step outside the distractions of work, school, and other life activities and create a contemplative space within. Allow your breath to be one with the divine that is there. The second is to acknowledge the space we're in, both when it is and when it is not of our own choosing. Whether walking through the woods, gazing at a warm, comforting fire, grieving a loss, fighting a cold, or battling a more serious illness, take a moment to reflect on the blessings we have and perhaps what our woes are teaching us. Trust the wisdom you find within. As we breathe together in this space, let's consider a couple of examples. The first encompasses both woes and blessings. It is a story about the Arata family's tragic loss in 2017 of their 23-year-old son to a fentanyl-laced drug overdose. A recent issue of Women's Health Source magazine speaks about Brendan Arata, a creative, musically talented young man who was diagnosed at age 15 with bipolar disorder. His mother stated, "We think the medication kept him stabilized from mania, but made him feel more depressed, ultimately leading to self-medicating." His addiction began with anxiety medication and moved to opioids and heroin, and he eventually entered rehab at age 22. Although Brendan stayed sober for a while, was employed, and attended therapy sessions, his recovery was marked by relapses. Sadly, he succumbed to a fatal overdose in 2017 at the age of 23. Certainly, this was a woeful experience for Brendan, his parents, Heather and Larry, and his sister. There were times during his treatment when the family said they felt a mix of hope and fear. They created space during that time to acknowledge these emotions, and after his death, reflected on how they could transform their pain into purpose, or in the words of our gospel today, their woe into blessing. Turning their grief into advocacy, Heather and Larry Arata started a nonprofit, Opioid Crisis Action Network. which focuses on destigmatizing addiction and fighting for important legislative changes. But more than that, they extend a beacon of hope to those battling addiction and their loved ones. In Heather's words, it has been a healing experience. We'll never stop grieving the loss of Brendan, but seeing how many people were able to help eases that grip of grief a little. The Arata family offers the blessing of their wisdom and experience to those journeying on this difficult path. The second example is a personal story that focuses on the blessing of both physical and interior spaciousness. Recently, Stan and I vacationed in northern Vermont, where they have had a banner year for snow. This created amazing conditions for skiing and snowshoeing. So we adventurously snowshoed every day on different trails of varying lengths. The beauty was stunning everywhere, but it was a 7 to 8 mile round trip trek that really opened and spoke to my heart. Spaciousness was evident from the start. We did not encounter any people or animals during our long hike through 2 to 3 feet of virgin snow. Fortunately for me, Stan was delighted to break trail, so it was a lot easier for me to walk along. Thanks, hon. The crisp, cold air, soft, powdery snow, glistening sunlight on the beautiful flakes, and the gorgeous snow-covered mountains surrounding us brought me to a peaceful, quiet place. It was serene beyond all imagining. When we finally arrived at a rustic cabin deep in the woods, we enjoyed lunch by the fire, chatting with a wonderful couple that we met from Syracuse, New York. Even the conversation we shared was extraordinary, and it was something we had never experienced that way in all the years we've done it. There was an ease to our exchange, an openness without expectations. The space between us was deep, open, and enjoyable. As we said goodbye, we took different trails. They skied while we snowshoed, and the same kind of beauty and spaciousness blessed us on the return. As we neared the end of our trek, a beautiful snowfall enveloped us, a perfect cap to the all-day blessing of spaciousness. As I reflected on this more deeply, I felt the wisdom of today's gospel message in emptying myself of the internet and phone, issues of family and work, and the challenges and turmoil of the current political landscape, and instead focusing on being filled with spacious beauty. Truly a blessing. Every one of us is called to transform woes into blessings and to create spaciousness so that we can offer and receive these blessings. I invite each of us this week to reflect on how the Holy One is leading us in our personal life and in society at large to make that transformation and spaciousness take shape. As we discern our call to ease life's woes, let us remember the words of Sojourner Truth that we began with today. If we laugh and sing a little as we fight the good fight of freedom, it makes it all go easier. I will not allow my life's light to be determined by the darkness around me.